Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Hope you're all well. Thank you for joining me this evening. I'm sure there is not going to be as many as normal with the weather that we have outside, but I know a few of you may be catching it on replay. So thank you for watching this on replay, and thank you for those of you that are joining me live this evening as well. So this evening we're going to be talking about my Maskne. I know this has kind of been touched on a few times, and lots of other people have kind of done their own take on it as well. But if anything today, let's just see how we can be helping our clients, if not even for ourselves, if we are struggling with occasional breakouts and things like that. I know I have been recently, and obviously the weather changing that isn't helping either. So we may see a little bit more of it. So it's really, really good to have that background knowledge behind the mask and what could be causing these maskne problems. So we've touched on acne on these webinars before. But we're just going to make this one a little bit more relevant to, the other contributing factors like mask wearing and things that we can consider that we maybe not thought about until now. So as you know, I know there's a few of you watching live, and those that may be watching on replay, please do tag us in and tell us that you are what you're watching and how you're finding it, and we can go from there. So please do tag us in this evening. Okay, let's have a little look then, see where we are. So this evening, we're going to be refreshing on the anatomy of skin. We're going to be looking at recognizing ways to improve maskne, to enlighten you guys in ways in which you can improve both your clients and your own skin health as well. Some top tips for skin health, as always, just some take-home messages, and to help you understand home care and professional considerations. So as you can see, I am here on behalf of Shop Beautiful, which is relevant because we have lots and lots of products that are available. I'm not here to be product heavy this evening and talk to you about products. That's not what I'm about. It's more about education around the things that we could be thinking and should be thinking about for our clients as well. So that's the bulk of it today. So who am I? Those of you that don't know me, my name is Annette Matthews. I am a dental hygienist, dental therapist by trade. I also have my own facial aesthetics and skin clinic and training academy. So I am based in the Midlands in Derbyshire. Sunny Derbyshire today. Is it sunny where everybody else is? Do give me let me know. It's certainly sunny here today, and I hope we're making the most of it. So primarily, I kind of started out in aesthetics around about 2013, but my love for aesthetics kind of came on really, about a year after qualification from dental school. And it was then that I really kind of found the two matched together, but I am a proper skin geek. So I really, really do love everything skin. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and how and why I'm here this evening as well. So let's have a little think about what's going on when we think about acne and maskne. Anybody, obviously, anybody got any contributions to what have they noticed? Have their clients contacted them and said of concerns that they have? Is it something that they've noticed themselves with their skin? What do you think is going on? I'm not sure how interactive this is going to be because I know there's a few that are watching this on replay. But yeah, for me, clients have messaged and they've started to tell me that they're ready for some professional treatments and they've noticed an indifference in their skin. Perhaps the products that they've been using, they may not be quite addressing the first initial cause, and that's something that we need to obviously move on with as we find that things will change. So we're going to come on to that today. There are things that may trigger it off. I know certainly from working in both the medical profession and the dental profession, the masks that we have to wear, the big stealth masks, they have a really negative impact on the skin. Don't know if you can see, I actually have a bruise down my face here, which is just not going away because when I wear the stealth, it's just compressing on my facial artery there. And yeah, I had a pretty hefty bruise for a few days in that area. So let's have a think about what is going on. When we're thinking about what is going on, we're obviously going to start with anatomy. So what's going on with skin that is functioning properly? Skin is there to protect us. It's there to provide sensation. It's there for heat regulation. It's there to help control evaporation as well, and for storage and synthesis of relevant vitamins, amino acids, proteins, and things like that it needs in order to function at its best. Okay, so remember, the skin will only do all of these things when it's functioning in the best way that it can. So it's down to us to help that happen with a topical application of products and with education for our clients as well. It's there to excrete, free radicals and things that cause problems underneath the skin. And it's there for absorption, which is an all too relevant one if we're recommending home care and or we're doing treatments on the skin and around the skin as well. There is an element of it that is water resistant. And remember, this is only if it's functioning the best way that it can. So when we start to see a malfunction in the skin with the likes of mask wearing, which we're going to come on to as you go through, then we start to see that this doesn't quite tick all the boxes and do what it should be doing either. Okay. An important one, I always talk about this, and that's aesthetics and communication. So we're quite lucky at the moment because we can kind of hide that part of our face. But a lot of my clients are getting a little bit anxious because when we can actually go out and do these things again, and they've got this problematic skin, they're actually more reaching out to me more so with that in mind, because they're really, really anxious about the fact that when they are taking their mask off, they have these areas that they are concerned with. And naturally, that's going to affect how they feel about themselves, the aesthetics, how they communicate with people, because it will affect their mental health and well-being. Because as we know, if we look and feel good, then that has an impact on our demeanor and the way that we come across as well. Okay, so it is connected to our emotions in that way. What you will find, and we've done webinars on stress, we've done webinars on acne, we've done webinars on various things that affect the skin. The menopause as well, we've touched on that. So you imagine if we have problem skin and then we start to stress out about that problem skin. So there's a blog that I wrote about stress and skin and the impact that has on inflammation, and all of these things start to spiral out of control. So hopefully you will see that all these things are interlinked together, and it's really important for us to allow our clients to see that as well, and kind of get them to help, with de-stress techniques, maybe treatments that we can offer once we can reopen again for that as well. So it's definitely worth a consideration. And there we are. It decides to start spinning at this point when I'm going to move on to the next slide. That's modern technology for you. So let's have a look at acne. So acne caused by masks is different somewhat to normal acne, okay? It's caused by hormonal changes, as it's a direct result of a physical disruption of the skin. So normal acne, as we know, most of it is caused by these hormonal changes within the skin. There could be other things that are going on as well. There are underlying factors in terms of products and choice of products and poor skincare. Usually it's multifactorial. It's not one thing or two things. It could be 3, 4 or 5 different things that are causing this. But with masks, we tend to see a breakdown in that barrier and issues that will start to occur because of a physical disruption of the skin. The constant rubbing or material, that friction that we get from the mask and the constant mask wearing, plus weather like today outside as well, can result in these micro tears of the skin. So remember that optimized barrier, the skin functioning properly as it should, which we've just been going over, okay? With a mask affecting the structure and function of the skin, then that isn't always going to be the case. That could then lead to your bacteria, your dirt, and obviously unwanted oils entering underneath the skin and clogging up these pores, okay? So acne, the very nature of face masks is that they're designed to limit airflow from entering or exiting because of obviously what we need them for. Which this means that these skin cells that would naturally be shedding throughout the day as well. So we have a natural exfoliation process of around about 28 days, but it does slow as we get older. And that natural delamination, that removal of the dead skin, isn't going to be allowed to happen. They could potentially get trapped, and that frictional problem that it's going to cause on and around the skin, in particular in areas where the mask will sit. So usually clients will report, from my experience, they'll report the problematic areas where the friction will actually sit. It literally sits in line with the mask, depending on the type of mask that they're wearing as well. But I don't know what you guys have found either. As we know, this is the new way of life. This is the new normal. For me, I've always worn masks in a clinical setting. Obviously, we've kind of had to ramp that up with the types of masks that we're wearing now. But a mask has always kind of been part and parcel. I've got used to wearing nothing like what I'm wearing now, but I got used to wearing like the ones that we wear around in the shops and things like that, because that was everyday dental. And even when I was doing close-up treatments on clients in a non-dental setting, I would always feel more comfortable if I'm in a mask when leaning over and breathing over a client. But the types that we're wearing have changed somewhat, and the time spent wearing them. So Naturally, I was used to wearing them, but the best thing is taking that mask off at the end of the day and not having to put it back on. But what we know is that depending on where we are and what we're doing, we're still having to wear them, you know, around the shops and everything else as well. And I think this is going to continue for some time as well. So what we know, obviously, you know, is warm, wet and dark. What does bacteria like? We know this. It's anaerobic. It means it likes to be where it's warm, wet and dark. Okay. So that humid, sticky environment this mask will create, especially if we're wearing the same mask throughout the day and or we're not, you know, it's just one that you grab out of your pocket. I'm guilty of that too if you've forgotten one. But these are all considerations. If you've got someone who is already acne prone, and then we're bringing this into the equation, you are setting yourself up for even more problems and concerns as well. So it's really, really important that we get people thinking about this when they're popping their masks on. Okay, so as it says here, the breakouts for two main reasons. So two main reasons will occur. We've kind of covered on one of them. Let's have a little look. So you've got your physical rubbing. If you're wearing a mask for long periods of time, excess heat and pressure of the material against your face and our faces can cause a breakdown in that protective layer of your skin. It's also going to affect that, obviously, as you know, the barrier function. It's going to affect the amount of oil that's on the skin. The skin is then going to go into a bit of a panic mode. It may start to produce more oil. And what we know about this, when we're producing more oil, it's more susceptible to that buildup of bacteria. We've got a breach in the skin and we've got bacteria that will get in there. We're overproducing oil because the body thinks, the skin panics, it's not got enough oil on the surface to protect it, and we're kind of feeding the bacteria. So it's that vicious cycle. Okay, naturally what a lot of people want to do when they get home and wearing a mask all day is they want to exfoliate, they want to scrub their skin. So that again in itself is going to add that frictional concern to the skin and you know, act as an aggressor as well. This layer helps keep out these external aggressors. So by us actually physically doing it from just wearing the mask and or getting home and scrubbing the skin and using something that's too abrasive, this is going to affect the hydration of the skin. Okay, your skin will become more prone to pimples and spots, and this is referred to as your acne mechanica. This is from your physical rubbing of the skin. Okay, why my next button isn't working, but here we are. I kind of touch on this most of my webinars because it's really, really important just to recognize and remember how pH will play a valid part. So the pH of the skin is 4.75 to 5.75. Water is around about 7 and soap sits at around about 8. So ask your client what they're using on the skin. If we've not got the fundamentals and the foundations in place in the first place, then it's no good as trying to feed, feed results from something, maybe professional treatment, if we've not got this home care and the prevention in place in the first place. So always think about the pH. And obviously the pH of the skin is optimized by the skin functioning properly. If it's not functioning properly because of that frictional causative factor on the skin, then that's going to have a negative impact as well. Okay, so the pH is important because it will allow this P. acne bacteria to grow. It grows well in an environment with a pH of around about 6 to 6.5. So remember, we should sit at 4.5 to 5.5. Okay, and as we can see at 4.5 to 5.5, the growth of bacteria will naturally decrease from the evidence that we had. However, if it is too alkaline, which you can find from consistent use of soaps and water, it is going to have a negative impact on the skin and the skin health. So that's where we start. We start with the basics and the fundamentals. We don't try and throw too much at it. We just start with the basics and you will start to slowly see progression. So it's important to recognize how and what's causing these spots. We should know this. You've hopefully covered this many, many times, but it's always good to have a refresher. So we've got that sebaceous oily gland that sits alongside the hair follicle. It feeds the oil onto the top layer to produce that lipid layer to help keep moisture in and to help keep bacteria and bad things out. Okay. If that lipid barrier is breached in any way, then we are putting ourselves at risk. So how can it be breached? It can be breached by, like we've just learned, that frictional element. So obviously the friction of the mask, by poor product usage, by skin damage, by poor lifestyle choices. As we know, there are many intrinsic hormones, things like that, natural aging process, and many extrinsic, such as the UV rays and the sun, and or obviously the mask wearing is an extrinsic cause of skin damage as well. We start to produce inflammation. And again, if we have someone that is then stressing out about this inflammation and the levels of spots that they're starting to get, we see a more negative impact. What we know about inflammatory markers and stress is they are closely linked. Okay, so really, really important to help address that with the client, and get them to it's really hard, but get them to not stress about it as much, because it does have a negative impact on the skin as well. So we can help them with other techniques. We can help, making sure that they're getting enough sleep. This is where all these webinars that I'm doing should hopefully be starting to tick together, and you can gel them together, because we've talked about sleep, we've talked about repair, we've talked about stress, we've talked about anti-inflammatory nutrition, we've talked about SPF. Again, we're going to talk about that today, but we should be kind of just interlinking all this together and seeing how it's going to have a positive impact. So, on to some tips that we can be sharing with our clients and or ourselves. This should be self-explanatory, right? Wash your mask, okay? So the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention recommend you wash your cloth mask after every use. How many people can say that they do that? And I know that, I see people that pull up both in the dental surgery to me, and obviously pre-lockdowns when we had to wear the mask, they'd come in with an old fuzzy thing out their pocket. I'd always make sure if they've had any sort of procedure with me, they're leaving with a fresh mask. That's really important as well. But yes, washing that mask in a 60-degree wash, ultimately, so important, because we're removing that bacteria and that problem-causing bacteria after every use to help prevent that buildup of bacteria as well. And just bear in mind, another extrinsic factor could be if they're washing these masks in something that doesn't agree with their skin. So they may be using biological wash powders. Is that something that we need to consider having a conversation with them about? Do we need to think about using something on the skin that's going to be softer and gentler? What we'll use on baby's skin, I'm not going to name brands, but there are certain soap detergents that we would go to because we know they're not as biologically incompatible and affecting the skin. Okay. Or we could use the disposable ones. Okay, so the disposable ones, in my opinion, would be the ones of choice. However, I know that obviously that it's not everybody's cup of tea in terms of the environment and other things that they consider as acceptable. So it's making sure that they understand if they're leaving you from a treatment, they need to be leaving with a fresh mask on, in my opinion. And obviously washing one that they may be wearing again, that needs to be washed after every single use. Okay. Top tip number 2 is to wash their face. Now, you'd think that would make sense, right? But it's really important with how they're washing their face. The natural thing they're going to want to do when they get home, and I've done this, I've worn the mask, got the bruises to prove it, you want to really give your face a good scrub. But the problem you've got with that is it will do more harm than good, from what we know of over scrubbing and over exfoliating the skin. Okay. We want to encourage that natural, a gentle exfoliation process, and we don't want to speed it up too much, because we've got to allow the skin to repair itself and to think about what's happened to it, and to allow it to not become any more damaged from anything else that we're doing at home as well. So gentle cleansing. Okay, I would opt for a gentle foaming cleanser, something that's not too exfoliating. I would initially I would steer clear of things that are too exfoliating. So you know hopefully about the AHAs and BHAs that you can find in cleansers. From someone with problematic skin, I would just start them at the very beginning of that. Okay, and yes, naturally, if they're getting consistent inflammatory and breakouts, we may want to get them onto something a little bit more active, a little bit more punchy. But I wouldn't start them on that in the first place, especially if they've just been using soap and water and that's all they've been using. We wean them in gently to these things that can be slightly abrasive to already damaged skin as well. That's my professional opinion, what I've found with my clients. Okay. We need to make sure, I recommend peers who work in the dental industry, they're obviously working in very hot, sweaty environments, to cleanse their skin in between appointments. You know, we now do aerosol generating procedures, and we have hopefully an hour, so we can obviously do the procedure, and then we have to degown, wait for the fallow time for all the droplets to fall, and that is time that you can then be taking care of your skin as well. So we're not scrubbing it in between every one, but we're applying the certain products that are going to help the skin, and we're mindful of what we're washing our masks with as well, just like the first slide. As I say, just a reminder, remember to be gentle on your skin rather than using these harsh scrubs. It's the aim to protect your skin rather than damage it further. Really important note. Naturally, the first thing we're going to want to go to, as experienced clinicians and people working with clients, you're going to want to think about something with the AHAs and BHAs in, but that wouldn't be my first go-to on somebody that is suffering with maskne. From experience, you may find different. Top tip number 3 is the face mask size. So when you're looking at face masks, look to buy one that covers your nose and mouth, obviously, but you don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose. It can obviously cause further issues on and around the skin. What we know about the large stealth type masks that we're having to wear in certain industries, absolutely unavoidable. There is nothing, because you need to have that snug fit to pass the fit test. So that's a bit of a catch-22 situation. But you can put the other provisions in place to help improve your skin condition, and what you're doing in between wearing that mask will have a positive impact as well. So face mask size is important. The other thing you can consider is the material of the mask. So we're going to kind of come on to home care considerations as well, and it will start to kind of click together a little bit more for you. But those who live with acne or acne prone skin, consider a softer material. So they might already be considering silk pillowcases or have a silk pillowcase. That does have a positive impact on the skin, because it's less harsh on the skin if it's obviously washed appropriately as well. Other synthetic materials are harsher on the skin. I actually had a client before the last lockdown who had a reaction to one of the disposable masks, you know, quite a nasty reaction. She had to get some antihistamines, and, you know, she really did swell up because it just didn't agree with her skin on that day. So really important that we make these considerations, you know, like 100% cotton. Again, they're easier to clean than your silk ones. You maybe need to be mindful of how you can wash that and at what temperature. But it's less abrasive, less frictional concern that's caused from the skin from using materials like that as well. So top tip number 5 is your skincare routine. Give your give your skin that fighting chance by using these non-comedogenic pore blocking moisturizers underneath your masks. Okay. You need to be careful that you're not using something that is that's too heavy on the skin. So I'd be recommending serums and things like that if we're consistently wearing masks and we're finding problems. As we know, serums are going to penetrate that little bit deeper into the skin. And there are certain serums who have the evidence behind the fact that that's exactly what they do and their mode of action and how it works. And that's important to decipher from the products that you're using. We want to avoid, even though naturally they want to go for that heavy makeup for the cover up, we really need to avoid that, because it's just going to, as we know, going to clog up the skin more and causes more problems as well. Okay. So serums will be my go-to after a cleanser, and post serum, I'd be putting some sort of reparative balm and or SPF alongside that as well. So a lot of people think that obviously, you know, from the menopause, we've learned this, the menopause webinar that I did, those with pre-existing skin conditions, they're the only ones that can get maskne, right? We've probably found that isn't the case. You may be somebody that's never had a spot, or you've not had a spot for years and years, or your client hasn't had a spot for years and years, and then all of a sudden they're getting these breakouts and they can't understand how and why. They've kind of forgotten how or don't know how to deal with it. They go on the old Google, they have a little look at, you know, things that they could be using that's probably too astringent on the skin and going to cause more harm than good as well. So that's where you guys come in to help them. So if you found it's a problem that you've had, then share that with them and tell them and talk to them about it, whether that's on social media or via virtual consultations. Resonate with them and obviously offer them solutions for the problems and the concerns that they've had. So, you know, people who already have skin concerns, they're more likely to have more of a negative impact from the likes of wearing a mask as well. Okay. But that said, there's nothing to stop helping you repair that, and preventing these flare-ups from worsening as they come and when they do come. Those with pre-existing skin conditions, they might find it harder to control this. And again, home care and prevention is going to do a lot. But once we can start our professional treatments again, there is so much more that we can do for them. But it is an act of inevitability, really. It is going to happen because of the environment that we're putting on and around our skin. What we want to try and do is get the skin working in the best way that it can. For that very first slide that we saw, get it functioning so it's doing everything it can within the environment that it's in. And we do that by applying products, both topically onto the skin and thinking about how they're treating their body, what they're putting in their body as well. That's really important. So, you know, Shop Beautiful, they have products, you know, supplements and things to think about. So is your client thinking about those things as well? Are they keeping hydrated? These are all things that we definitely need to consider. We're not nutritionists, some of us might be, but we need to, we know what putting in our body makes a difference and how that makes a difference to our skin, okay, and our general well-being. So what can we be doing now? We can consider these free virtual skin consultation for clients, okay? This has gone a little bit crazy for me, and I think more so everyone's gone into a bit of a panic mode about opening back up, and you know, going to the pub and seeing friends and seeing family, and then noticing that their skin is worsening. You know, you've got lots of tools available from Shop Beautiful, and you can start to consider building little mini home rescue kits, so things that they can be using in the run up to you opening. So you may look at them and you may see pictures of them, and you may think, right, okay, this is what's going on from what I know already and what I've learned during the lockdown. These are the sort of procedures we want to consider. But before that, let's get them implemented in home care. I've seen huge results from home care only during the lockdowns while we can't physically do any treatment. So usually I'd be complementing the two together, but I've not been able to do the professional treatment. So the majority of the pictures that I've got are from home care alone. So that's really positive. Another thing that it does is it builds the compliance on the person who you are seeing for the treatment. Okay, so they may think that obviously what you're doing is the be all and end all, and it doesn't matter because they're just going to come and see you and you'll sort everything out. But it really will help them understand that you're going to get even better results if they're doing their homework as well alongside. So what sort of procedures would I be recommending? I would be recommending the likes of professional peeling. I'm not again here to talk about peels as such and specific branding, but you're thinking about a peel that is going to help and be bacteriostatic, one that is going to help fix the skin, which most of them do, but one that's going to be quite gentle on the skin as well. We want to encourage that faster skin cell turnover. We want to help remove any dead skin and impurities from underneath the skin. And we want to supercharge the skin with antioxidants, okay? An antioxidant is going to help remove something called a free radical. A free radical is a cell that is misbehaving underneath the skin and not doing what it should. Not only does it misbehave, it tells others to do the same. So then we have that knock-on effect. So once we start with something that's going wrong underneath the skin, it has that general knock-on effect of the skin over time as well. So it's going to age the skin. It's going to cause problems underneath the skin. There are free radicals, scavengers like vitamin C, so ascorbic acid, hyaluronic acid, all of these that we know too well that are very positive on and around the skin. These would be my go-to personally for that initial stage. So ascorbic acid, your vitamin C, and your hyaluronic acid. Your hyaluronic acid is going to help hydrate the skin. We know that good quality hydrated skin is going to help warn off its own free radicals and help to maintain and allow that structure and function to return. Okay, so these should be things that you're thinking about in terms of mini home rescue kits. There is a webinar, there are other webinars that I've done, and when you watch them, if you've not watched them already, you'll start to kind of link everything together. But what you need to be thinking about is the treatments that you're going to potentially be doing and what home regimen they can have in place ready ahead of that. And that's what you guys can be doing right now from your virtual consultations. We consider prevention to protect. Okay, this should be the first thing that we are doing. The first thing I always say when someone says to me, I've got problem skin, this is bothering me, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like that. They go for everything with me and they'll say, right, talk me through your regimen. What are you doing with your skin? Well, all I can use is soap and water. We all hear this on a daily occasion, I think, sometimes with clients. And everything else I use causes a reaction. I've used this product before and it made it worse, so I stopped using it. That's called a purge. So that's where communication comes in with our clients. And it's so important, okay? We educate to eliminate. This is something that I kind of made up a few days ago, actually, but it's the truth. We prevent to protect. So that should be where we start. We educate to eliminate. So really, really important. We kind of get the client on board and we help them to understand the difference that their home regimen will make. And it's not about bombarding them with products. It's about helping them to make those small changes and educating them to the journey that they might see. So, you know, naturally they may have that purge and it gets worse before it gets better. If we've had that conversation with them, it's much like when I do aesthetic treatments, if they're prone to the herpes simplex virus, I kind of tell them that, you know, potentially you could get something like this that could occur. There are things that we can have in place that you can take as a run up to it. But you've told them and then it does happen, they're kind of accepting that. If you don't tell them it's going to happen and then it happens, it's not a great situation to be in. So by telling them these sort of things to expect, then that's important as well. So we're preventing to protect. So when they're wearing a mask, when they come to you with their concerns, listen to them, listen to the areas that they're finding the problem in, what they're doing to their skin. Ask them, it's random and they'll think you've lost the plot sometimes, but ask them to do a skin diary. Is it worse or is it better at any point? Have they noticed that you know, something has triggered it? Is a certain mask that they've worn that's made it worse? Is it the same mask that they've been wearing as well? Important to consider. So this has got its own slide because it's so important. This is the first thing where we should start. SPF, repair daily, more than once a day. Okay, so those that are really suffering with their skin, we need to be putting a repair type SPF and balm on throughout the day. So if you are a stealth mask wearer like myself, I would be taking this to work with me, perhaps at lunchtime, washing our face, not overwashing. Again, we're using that gentle cleanser. We're not using your AHAs and your BHAs, a gentle foaming cleanser. And then we're applying some vitamin C and we're applying something that's going to repair the skin as well. It's an absolute must. Not only that, we've got the UV defense that we need, not just on days like today either, it's every single day, a broad spectrum SPF to help protect the skin. I would look for something that claims and or proves that it has some form of lipid barrier replacement. So you're looking for key ingredients like vitamin E, you're looking for things like zinc and things that will help repair the skin alongside protecting it at the same time. We need to defend our skin against the likes of central heating, these extrinsic temperatures, the warm, the wet, the dark that we're putting our skin through from these masks that we're consistently wearing. Avoiding makeup, okay, even though having some types of makeup on is better than having none at all, especially because it's going to then obviously friction the makeup off before it is our skin and the concern in that area. But what I would say would be a tinted SPF with that reparative property to it, because what that's going to do is the mask is going to rub that area off first, but then you've got the repair properties within there as well. Okay, so I will be using something like that personally. On the Shop Beautiful pages, because I know you come to thinking which one is it going to be, I'll pop on the blog that will be on after this, probably tomorrow, the actual SPF that I would recommend. It's the Dermaceutic post-procedure one, which is one that I would be advising that contains these things in it. again, there are others available. So you're looking for products with these reparative factors. HelioCare actually have some free online training with Shop Beautiful as well. If you haven't done that, then you need to go on and do that. It's free for one, and it'll just help kind of educate you a little bit more around broad spectrum, SPF, the difference between the different factors, what, where, and why. You know, the different types of mineral and physical, and you should hopefully understand it a little bit more by the end of that. So what can you be doing now to correct what's going on? Hopefully, from what you've seen this evening, you can now create some educational content and posts behind. You've got those top tips that I've put on there. You've got things that you can think about. You know, what could your client be coming to you? What concerns have they got? Quizzing them, asking them about when it's worse. You know, what job they do. If they're having to wear a mask, like most of us are all day, every day now, how often are they changing it? What type of mask is it that they're wearing? What regimen do they have halfway through the day? Do they do anything on their skin morning and night? What do they do? How much sleep are they getting? You know, you could become a little bit of a skin stalker with the questions that you ask, but that's the only way you're going to get the full history to be able to help them as well. Educational content posts, so get them thinking about that in order to improve their skin. So this might go wrong because I'm not sure how many people are watching live, but tell me your top 5 tips for people with maskne. What would you put out there today, this evening, that you might potentially tag me in? What would we be thinking about from what we've learned over the last few slides? Let's just see if anybody's going to interject. Otherwise, Annette's going to sit and talk to herself. So breakouts and dryness. Okay, thank you, Alison. You answered. Oh my God, there's a few popping up there. I've had kind of an influx of messages, people saying that they're going to watch this after because they're in the garden. Thank you, Alison. It seems like it's just you and me here this evening. Yeah, let's go through them. So we're going to change. There's a few coming through now. Okay. Yeah, there's a few coming through. I'm glad you're all still awake. You're probably just away from the laptop for a second. So number 1 would be washing our face with a gentle cleanser. Number 2 for me would be applying something that's reparative to the skin more than once a day. And that's what you're going to be wearing underneath the skin. Being mindful of what we're washing our mask in and on, and ensuring that we are obviously doing other things. If that mask has caused frictional problems to the skin and we are seeing a breakdown in the skin and the way that it functions, and we then go about poor hygiene habits elsewhere. So we're using the family towel in the bathroom, we're not changing our pillowcases on a daily or, you know, bi-daily basis. That's going to have another negative impact on the skin as well. So once we've got skin that is exposed from that mask wearing, which is pretty much all of us, then we're more prone to further skin problems because of the breach in that area. So your SPF is so important, your reparative SPF, and avoiding exfoliating the skin. So the first thing they're going to want to do is come home, scrub the skin. We're helping them and encouraging them not to do that. And yes, we will lead up to professional treatments like peels, microneedling to help thicken the skin and improve the skin quality and improve the influx of collagen in the area as well. But before that, let's get the fundamentals in place, which is good regimen, good habits, reparative properties, and these products in mind. Okay, I know I've kind of talked around products this evening. I don't want to make it too product heavy, that is why, but I will direct you more in the blog to the sort of products that I'll be recommending. The skin kits that you can find on the Shop Beautiful pages, the ones that I actually particularly like are the little mini dermaceutic ones. And again, I'll cover which ones I potentially be recommending in the blog that will be on there within the next day or so as well. So you've got the power to help your clients. They come to you with their concern. They're looking for a solution, so you can provide that to them from the likes of our shop. Ultimately, you can go on and find the products that are going to help. So another consideration will be obviously the fact that the blog is going to be there. So there is going to be content that you can share, but I'd love to see you create your own. I'd love to see you produce posts and information and infographics. I use something called Canva. Canva is an amazing little source to use, and you can take pictures, you can make kind of quotes, you can help them with little eye-catching videos and things like that. So that's how you can create your educational posts. Another consideration, those of you working with skin, The Maskne accreditation, I've just seen that mineral is spelt wrong on there. Sorry about that. So if you go on to skin.org, you will see that they have a online accreditation. So absolutely any of us working with skin need to understand and or help to be able to detect early skin cancer and melanoma. These guys have an online accreditation that you can do and move on to do as well, which I would definitely recommend as an ambassador for these guys. That's why I always put it on towards the end of my webinars as well. So I'll open the ever so quiet chat box this evening to any questions that anybody might have. Those watching on replay, you can contact me as well on any social media forum, or drop a message over to Shop Beautiful and they'll get that over to me. If you do have any questions at all, please do shout up and I'll do my best to answer those this evening. Live whilst we're on, if any. Thank you guys who contributed to the answers. It's a weirdly quiet one this evening. I did expect it. I think everybody's outside enjoying this weather. But obviously this weather is going to have another impact on the skin. We're potentially going to see more and more people who are suffering because they're having to wear the masks, and we're in an even warmer, muggier, wetter, darker environment as well. Okay, so we may say it worsened. So this is perfect ample time to be getting out and preaching about the SPF, not just on a day like today, but every single day as well. I'm going to close, but thank you very much for those that have logged in live. I hope those who are watching it on the replay are enjoying me stammering through the lack of interaction as well, because it always makes it more difficult and shorter. I like to give you guys an hour, but when there's no questions and interaction, it does sometimes shorten it somewhat for us. I do hope you've taken something away from this evening. We do have another webinar next week. Keep an eye on the Shop Beautiful pages. You'll see the topic on that as well. Anything you want to cover, please do drop me a message in the chat now. Drop me a Q&A. Send me a message on Instagram. Speak to the guys at Shop Beautiful. Tell us what you want to see, because I would love to help you guys out. We have a very exciting series coming up that I'm going to help plan, and that is just kind of dissecting the skin. We're going to look at the skin in a little bit more detail so you understand and appreciate the fundamentals of why we recommend these products. And then we're also going to do something called skin ingredients. So we're actually going to look at key ingredients, not brand specific, but just key ingredients that we look for when we're using products and what we should be looking for when we have certain skin conditions. So these are all coming. I've just got to write them and plan them, but it's a very exciting time for us to move forward together and back to offering the treatments that we know and love, and the help that we can offer our clients as well. So I do hope you've enjoyed this evening. Go out and enjoy the rest of the daylight that we have left, and I look forward to seeing some more of you next week. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Bye.